Okay, that's
Okay.
appropriate. You're listening to the Overwatch Rundown, a weekly podcast covering the latest in the esports scene of competitive Overwatch. Today is February 18th, and we are covering the Tespa Collegiate Championship 2018.
Plus, I feel I have to correct you once again there, even though this is the official title. We're going to go with the Tespa Fiesta Bowl Collegiate
Wait,
Championship.
what?
You cannot leave out the sponsors of the event because that's part of the reason why, we have this prize pool of $120,000 for these college players, right? The Fiesta Bowl, who was hosting it. It's the first time we're doing this. The thing that I don't like is the Fiesta Bowl is an actual football
Oh, yeah, no, I don't
bowl
like that
game
either.
in January, right? And
Yeah.
I'm saying when I saw that they were hosting, I'm like, okay, we're gonna have this Fiesta Bowl event, this Overwatch Fiesta Bowl event during the Fiesta Bowl. But then I'm looking here. Today is the 18th of February. The Fiesta Bowl was back in January, and believe it or not, Lepelos, we start with the semifinals, right? The quarterfinals were at the beginning of December. So we go from the beginning of December all the way to the middle end of February. Like,
Yeah.
what a,
Listen,
what a break!
it is definitely a bit of a break for the Tespa teams. Maybe they had some midterms, or this is midterm break for them, or something that's going on. Jax, you actually confused me about having to go back to the top or not right now. I was not sure if you were serious, but listen,
No, we're just Lepelos. I told you we're gonna roll with it, and you
we
know what it
are.
is, Lepelos. This is Blizzard's. I see Blizzard's hand all over this because the quarterfinals happened on December 3rd. And if you go back to that time in December, I think it was the 6th or the 7th, we had the preseason of the Overwatch League, and then after that for January, where we might have wanted this to happen, there was the Overwatch League regular season. So now if they're slotted into this small window between stages 1 and 2 where there's no conflict whatsoever for the Overwatch League. I mean, not that Tesla should be a conflict, but that's just the way the scheduling goes.
Yeah, no, I mean it's definitely interesting stuff. It's nice that it slots in there in that sake for the Overwatch League or whatever, and it gives
I'm just
us
saying, Lepelos, they
something
had
new.
Fiesta
But
Bowl. They had one of the executive vice presidents of the Fiesta Bowl there handing out. I don't know if he handed out a check or a trophy or whatever or not, but he was there speaking. I'm saying, why is this not going on during the Fiesta Bowl? But
well, it's
that's
a bit
another matter.
anticlimactic too. I guess like listen, there this is like the come down off of the actual Fiesta Bowl. It's like,
Yeah.
well, it felt good to give things away to people that really cared. So let's keep it going with esports, and maybe next month we'll do the Fiesta Bowl of something else, like I don't know. So what's something VR super hot or something like that? I don't know. Though
Okay.
I'm glad they're getting sponsorship. That is great. I don't like false tie-ins to existing things. I will say that about
Right.
esports time and time again. I think it needs like new branding and new attitudes if you're gonna do it right. Like it's the same thing with Overwatch League.
I knew that was
Trying
coming.
What's that? You knew
I
this was
knew
coming?
I was
You
waiting for
knew.
you to make the
The
tie-in,
pivot
about
was so obvious, Jax, isn't it
the
though?
London Spitfire who won stage 1 of the Overwatch League, except they're playing all of their games for the first 2 seasons in Los Angeles. So in essence, they are the Los Angeles Spitfire.
Yeah, that was true. Actually, Jax, I was going with the broadcasting side of it. Right now, they
Oh,
seem to be, they're fine with the Twitch, but it's clear that they're trying to position themselves to get a cable broadcast at some point in the future. And I think
that's
if they go
we
down
we
that
already
route,
had that with E League, So the thing is, I don't. Anytime I ask someone who doesn't know Overwatch, right? If I show them a video or I have them watch a live broadcast, they don't know what's going on, Lepelos. And my thing is, everybody who's watching it now, right? You want them to then go watch it on their TV? Like, we're all here in front of the computer. Like, I don't want to watch it on my TV. I could, I don't want to. Maybe you do, but I don't.
yeah. Well, I mean, it also plays out differently when you have access to like chat or abilities to do
You're right.
different things too. And
Twitch chat on TV? Oh my goodness,
I
I don't
can't
want
even
to.
imagine. Can you imagine if they showed some of the chat
No,
during
they
the
can't show
broadcast?
chat.
They
Chat
could they
cannot be
could
shown.
never show the chat. Which is the point though, is the fact is chat is that toxic, but it's still a part of the experience for clearly a lot of people.
Yeah,
Like I honestly don't watch it with chat, although every now and then I'd like to see where the memes are currently sitting at in chat because it
I
is
like I like the
interesting.
Twitch memes, and at times, there's so many eyes watching it that they catch things. The casters don't always catch ultimates that are eaten or blocked or interrupted, things like that. But you look in Twitch chat and someone did. And you have the memes that come up, or people have information about a player that we might not know. They were following his Twitter and the guy mentioned something. Who
Yeah,
knows?
or his
Um,
Foursquare
but the biggest
check-in.
thing, most of the people who watch Overwatch, right, who are going to watch Overwatch League, they're already on Twitch. And one of the things that Twitch has that these others don't, these other broadcasters don't, Leplos, are the emotes. People love their emotes, you know.
Yeah,
And people, they subscribe to these people so that they can use them and show them off. And when you have when they did the preseason on MLG TV, and we couldn't use them. You can't use them on YouTube. And then you go and you ask Nate No Numbers and Answers, what were the numbers like for the preseason? Oh well, don't worry about that. We're more focused on the numbers for the regular season. I wonder why, Lepolos.
yeah, and I'm still
And
wondering what those numbers are too. I want to see if he can focus in on those numbers and actually talk about them. But because we talked about this after the end of stage one, the playoffs maybe not getting as much as they want, and
I
we're
it,
entering season two or stage two.
stage two. If I'm honest, I
Concerning,
was a little bit disappointed that they didn't get over 200,000.
yeah,
I think part of that one is the timing. And they have addressed that in that the stage two finals will not be, the playoffs won't be on that Saturday. It will be on the Sunday. They'll still have problems with Europeans who can't stay up late because they have work the next day. I think that's why they had it for Saturday, because if it went late, well, not if, because it was going to go late, the Europeans might be able to stay up and watch it. But those finals levels, they happen at what, 7 or 8 Pacific, so you've had Europeans up that entire day when it started at 11 o'clock Pacific, right? So fatigue. You people, I talked about this. You can only watch so much Overwatch before you're just tired of it. Even if it's good, you're tired of looking at it. So I think the numbers for stage two finals will go up. The one thing I'm looking forward to this upcoming week when we start stage two, though, Leplos, what kind of retention do they have?
yeah,
This will be a week off now where the hype train is gone. Like, I don't know. Perhaps I'm just not looking where Blizzard is advertising, right? But how many people are going to show up for stage two, you know,
yeah, and of
compared
course
to
looking
stage one?
far ahead though, Jax is talking about expansion too, and the numbers that have been tossed around. Then it's hard talking numbers when you have no numbers, Jax. But the price seeming to be going
Savage.
up for future expansion teams, quite severely. I know we talked about that a little bit, but if we're talking retention, Jax, can we talk about retention of players and who is moving where in Overwatch League Stage 2
Are
preview?
we
We
doing
won't
that
be
now?
coming to
I thought
that.
we were going to get into
No,
Tespa
this was a
level.
tease, Jax, because we're going to be
Okay.
ending our show with that one. What we
Okay.
have to talk first is the
You said it like
Tespa.
it's a bad thing, Lepos. Tespa Fiesta Bowl Collegiate Series Championship 2017-2018.
Yeah, no, they retained some players and some viewership for their finals here, Jax. It was definitely pretty well produced. We had some classic casting, I guess you
The
could say.
ZP?
Yeah, ZP out and seen again in the world of the collegiate scene, at least.
I gotta say, I saw we had ZP and Jamerson, right? I was fine with that. And then it's the same problem, same question that I ask about Overwatch League analyst desk. What Crumbs? What? Why? I'm sorry. Why is Crumbs here? What does he bring? He doesn't bring anything. They had, every week on the Overwatch analysis. I'm like, okay, here's Crumbs. I mean, it's not that he's bad. I don't know why they felt the need to hire him. I just don't. And it's the same thing here. Like, you had ZP and Jamerson, and I felt that was a pretty good duo. And then at times you'd have Crumbs interjecting. I'm okay. You can go away again now, but who knows? We're here at the semifinals right now, Lepolos, I think.
Yeah, I mean, this was after the break, after that long break you
Yeah.
mentioned off the start of the podcast tonight. They did have this long break before coming to the semifinals, I think, right? Like
Yes.
you're saying, which we had, well, one of my alma maters named Lowlives playing there in the lower, not the lower bracket, but the second semifinals. First one being between University of California at Irvine, I believe, right?
Yes.
Taking on
UC San Diego.
UC San Diego, aka Defenders of GC.
Geisel.
Geisel.
Yeah, I got nothing. I'll go with Geisel, but they are the University of California at San Diego. Man, Uploads. One thing I'm noticing here, the state of California well represented in the semifinals here because in the other semifinal, you have Cal, which is another California team versus your Toronto team. So you know perhaps Blizzard picked well by staging things in Los Angeles, which is also in California. You see.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree. There's probably more acceptance of moving on into the esports scene and on the West Coast in general. Pacific Northwest probably is a bit too chill to be that intense
I mean,
about playing through. But
I will say though, Levels, if you scroll up on the Wikipedia page we're using, you see they have West region, North region, South region, East region. They
yeah,
had teams all over the country, and even I can't just say country because Toronto's obviously not in this country, but in this on
continent,
this continent.
yeah.
Except I
Except for
don't
Mexico,
think
of
we had.
course.
But I don't think we had any Mexican teams, which
I
is a bit sad.
I mean,
Um,
the collegiate system is pretty tied or pretty
yeah,
similar between at least our two nations. I honestly
I
do
get
not
it.
know about the Mexican
I mean, they have
education system.
universities down there, Lepelos.
Yeah, I honestly don't know if there's a reason why they're not involved in this one, but
Okay.
that's outside of our knowledge. Here, though, I mean, at least we got one Canadian team through in up in there, and
Yeah.
but you're saying about the other regions in general here. You're
No, I mean, I just took a look at it, so if I look at the northern region,
yeah,
Carleton University, Kansas State, Toronto, Purdue, University of Ohio, Michigan State, Illinois at Chicago. In the south, you had Appalachian State, Clemson, Georgia, University of Texas at Austin, North Carolina State, Texas at Arlington, um, University of North Carolina at Charlotte, University of Central Florida, University of Texas at Dallas. You go to the eastern region, University of Connecticut, Maryland, College Park, Virginia Polytechnic Institute and State University, Boston, Carnegie Mellon, George Mason, New Jersey, Worcester, Rensselaer, Rutgers, and Delaware. So,
really getting
you
out
know,
there.
we had
Like
teams all over. So this is what I like. Like I want. I like that everybody is represented. All the regions are represented.
yeah,
Because I look at Overwatch League, and part of the problem that I have, right, is 3 teams from California. No, we
two
have
t-
4. I just listed off all those regions, right?
two
You
teams
have
in
all these
Texas.
college players. Like, go to Chicago, go to Atlanta. Like, 2 teams in Texas? Come on. The
Yeah.
whole Eastern Coast is there.
Yeah.
Like, just
Well, we
spread
do
out.
have some teams on the Eastern Coast between Boston and New York again. So
Well, Philadelphia, I
and
suppose, would be
the,
considered
the
some teams.
classic East Coastern or
Yeah.
East Coast cities, if you
What
want to
about the
call them coastal.
Midwest, Lepelos?
Yeah, Midwest. You could probably Chicago, as you said, probably could use one.
Yeah.
I still think Pacific Northwest, particularly because of the
Seattle.
tech scene in Seattle,
Yeah.
could probably use one. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens over time with Overwatch League in terms of where they pick up. Like everything there is going to be about what they think they can market to. But I'm glad to see in the collegiate scene at least the interest is there
Hmm.
across both of our nations, and both most regions at least doing pretty decently and getting pretty far. Clearly though, California a little bit a step ahead in terms of the interest and or maybe talent at the moment of people playing there. Um, and that might be coming out in some of the games. In fact, Jax, let's go ahead and talk about the first first
Flag
game
is
here,
that?
which
This is
was
interesting. Oh yeah, sorry. The first game between UC San Diego and UC Irvine. I was just looking. I'm about to link it to you on our schedule here. I was looking at the flag for 2 of the players from UC San Diego because I'm looking at them. Wait a minute, those aren't American flags. So I
yeah
like that even more. That the teams aren't necessarily made up of all Americans. The semifinal. These are best of. Well, these are best of 3, I think. No, best of 5. Sorry. We start out on Oasis Lepelos, University of California at Irvine. Dominant performance for them, 100-0, 135. Go to Kings Row, where UC San Diego made things a little bit more competitive, but Irvine, once again, just bringing too much heat. The final score of 5-4 went to Irvine. They had a little 2 minutes and 3 seconds left in their time bank
yeah
after it was all said and done. And the final map to close it out, which kind of tells you that Irvine won it in a straight 3-0. Temple of Anubis 2-0 in the favor of Irvine Lepelos. They had 256 seconds left in their time bank. So UC San Diego, congrats on making the semifinals. I don't even know how much they. Oh wait, do I see? Okay, third and fourth place. Wow, per player, it's better than nothing, I suppose. Third and fourth place, you get $1,750 US. So UC San Diego with their third or fourth place finish, we don't know what they get 1,750 per person.
yeah. I mean, pretty pretty good result
kind of
for
flag is
overall,
that? Is that
but
a
not
Chinese
never
flag?
fun if you go ahead in the semifinals. Unfortunately, right? Like you still
Yeah.
want to do best. Let's go ahead and talk about the other semifinals where we had University of California, Berkeley taking on University of Toronto, aka the Lowlives. This one starts off on Lijiang Tower, round one, pretty soundly going the side of University of California, 100-0 there, but U of T bringing it back round two and round three, close ones, but 197, 199, both of those for U of T. They take the first map. What?
I do want to point out, Lepelos, this is the second year we've had Tespa. The first year, the Tespa Championship. Last year, the eventual winners was University of California at Berkeley. So they are the defending champions. And starting out here in the semifinal with a loss, a little bit of an upset. They have only dropped one other map the entire tournament that was in the quarterfinals versus the Virginia Tech team. So for them to come out, a little bit on the back foot, but we'll see what they do in the second map.
Yeah, second map. Well, that turnaround is pretty quick, Jax. Here
Okay.
they had a stifling defense against U of T on Eichenwald. Eichenwald here, U of T, not looking great. 62% progress on A point, all they got. They did do a decent job of holding here, but still plenty of time when University of California capped out that percentage and were able to take that map, tying up the score, pushing us on to Full Sky Industries, Jax.
Okay, 2CP. 2CP Lepelos, the Berkeley Bears, they continue the pressure. 2-1 in their favor. Toronto Lepelos getting only 48% on the second point, whereas the Bears met that 48% and still had 294 seconds left in their time bank. That's
Significant.
not very close,
Yeah,
if I'm being honest.
I mean, first and foremost, obviously the attack's doing well, but the defense clearly
Yeah.
there for University of California. That defense pressured a little bit on Watchpoint Gibraltar, where U of T able to get it 76.63 meters into the third phase,
Okay.
unable to cap out. Sort of a issue. California Berkeley, though, offense maybe not as strong as their defense, but still pretty strong. They're able to make that distance with a minute 29 remaining, or sorry, a minute 19 remaining. And that is that. That's three maps in a row for California here,
They
and they
say
take the
defense
3-1
wins
series.
championships, Lepelos. That's a very common saying um, in traditional sports. So the defense here of Irvine, they struggled, not of Irvine, of Berkeley, sorry, struggled on control, but in the other game modes, they stepped it up and solid job. Bit sad if you're a fan of the University of Toronto Lowlives Lepelos like yourself, but
Yeah,
good on them for making it to the third and fourth place game.
yeah. And here we have this final between University of California Irvine versus University of California Berkeley. And Jax, if you're Irvine, you've done pretty well. You 3-0'd in your semifinals. You feeling pretty good about yourself
Yeah.
pretty much at this point, and you see the weakness in California esports. They lost in their last two series. They lost their control point maps,
Yeah, they did.
and that's where you're going to start off in the grand finals, and that's where you want to start winning, right? You want to start winning from game one. That's the best opportunity here to take a map against this pretty strong University of California Berkeley team. And unfortunately, it doesn't really go that way for them at all.
I mean, looking at Lepelos or on Oasis, we're on the city center here. You can see I going by what Cal decided to run a 2-2-2 with McCree and Soldier, very hit scan oriented versus the 2-2-2 Pharmacy Tracer from Irvine. Berkeley did their homework, right? They saw what was coming. They saw the Farah. Not only that, I believe they had a Mora and a Zen with them. So there's not much that Farah could do. She came out that first fight, got absolutely obliterated, switched immediately to Genji. That was who was that? That was Looter, the fair player from Irvine, switched to Genji. But they really couldn't get much.
Yeah, and on top of that, University of California Berkeley, they're doing a good job with the alt management. When they
Yeah,
got it going towards OT, they basically disengage or allow themselves to die
yeah.
to some alts coming out of UC Irvine. That set themselves up for a bit of a longer fight, but still, next fight they had an alt advantage. Earth's Shatter coming through by a Slurpee Thief,
Fatty
setting up
Shatter,
Psych.
Fatty Shatter, man. Wow.
Yeah, and that basically allowed them to take the point back with their own alt advantage off that play. 147 ended up the round. You like to see a quick flip like that on City Center, And
What is
just
it we
like
always
that,
say
one map up,
on Key Hill,
one
right?
round
If
up.
you're the team and you get it to 99% and your opponent has to go the entire way, right? Save your ultimates and smash them over the head. Most of the time we say that is, you build up your ultimates. Here, as you said, fantastic work by Berkeley to just die gracefully. They didn't try to force anything. They saw the fight was over. They had 4 ultimates for the very next fight. They took their time. They used them, Leplos. They got it. You go to the second stage here of Oasis on University now. I said you have Cal running a 3-1-2 Junkrat right now. Aligned, their tracer player who did so much work on the city center, is now playing Zarya. Sheik, their who was it? The Sheik played Soldier for them.
Yep.
He's now playing Junkrat. And for Irvine, we have a 402 coming up. 402 Leplos. I mean, I'm looking at this. I'm saying, are we going to? This is what we're going to be seeing in the next stage of Overwatch League, right? Because Mercy took a hit. Moira is still quite strong. 402 looks to work well. And how did it work actually for Irvine here?
Yeah.
Start.
Well, I mean, Irvine. I'll put it simply, Jax. Irvine struggling period against California Berkeley on this round. They ended up switching compositions, including breaking out of Farah, which again you would think might have some purchase against.
There's no hit scan, Leplos. There's no hit scan.
But unfortunately, on this map, they didn't need a hit scan if they're winning the ground war, and they did win the ground war pretty strongly.
Leplos, I'm not seeing the nerf to Junkrat here, man.
Yeah,
Sheik was bombing them to hell and back. I think he had ultimate after the very first, like the fight was over, and ZP was like, the rip tire is online. Like he just, I mean, that's the thing. 4 tanks, he just spammed them. Just bomb, and there was nothing they could do. They made the switch to a 2-2-2 pharmacy tracer, as Lepolo said, but didn't do anything with it. And the first map, Lepolos, their weakest map, going by the history of this tournament so far,
dominated. They dominated UCI on it pretty much. I mean, you can have a more dominating performance, Jax, I guess, but a strong performance for sure. On
Lepolos, talk about dominating performance. Go to the second map, Numbani.
Yeah, this one.
I
can we talk about this one, Jax?
I'm hesitant to even bring this up,
Lepolos. If nobody saw this, Jax, we got to go through this on defense first for University of California Berkeley. What do we have? We have the Zen coming out, we have an Anna coming out, and your favorite on Nimbani defenses, we have Aligned running that Torbjorn. What was your initial reaction, Jax? What was your initial
2-2-2 Soldier Torbjorn? See, most of the time, the Torbjorn is the Lucio player or some support player. It's very rarely, I can't say never, it's very rarely a DPS, right? The Tracer player, the McCree player from last round, goes Torbjorn? Like, here's the deal. They've done this before, so this has to be scouted by Irvine. Because I watched the semifinals. I saw this Torbjorn come out twice in the semifinals. So I'm saying to myself, I don't like this because your opponent knows what's going to happen. They have, quote unquote, done their homework. And what do I see, Lepolos? 402 attack?
Yeah.
How are you going to get to the turret?
It's definitely a concern. Like, you're hoping for point presence, I guess, or a long rotation to secure positioning.
Lepolos, they couldn't get to the turret. They couldn't get to the soldier. Every push, they got maybe one. Sometimes it was a Zen, or they got a second kill. Lepolos, full hold.
Full hold here. I mean,
Lepolos,
they got close.
What percentage did they get?
They got 90.5, I believe, here on the board for UCI. It was close. A good last second defense coming out from the Molten Core of Aligned to help get some point. I think he killed Learn to Play on.
I don't think the turret ever died, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think it died like once or twice, but it definitely got a lot of value in Jax. Actually, I think maybe at this level of play too, and putting a DPS on the Torbjorn, you could see the difference in terms of the alt build. He built an alt up to a Molten Core, I believe, in the first fight.
He had multiple Molten Cores.
And part of this is the composition that UCI was running, so I agree with you 100% there.
UCI switched at one point to a 2-2-2 level.
Yes.
It's still, they had no pressure on this turret. I cannot believe I'm saying the turret, it was a free casting turret.
Yeah, it was definitely concerning here that UCI unable to deal with it. I mean, their dive did set them up to get that percentage on the board. But the return of the Molten Core with Attack Visor in combination with that, in the fight still broke down, Jax. It was still close there.
Yeah.
I believe it was Tilde Box doing some work on Tracer, bringing a fight around, and then ended up in maybe like a 1v2 for UCI Irving, which they couldn't win. As the return of UC Berkeley or University of California Berkeley was enough there to hold on.
I'm sorry, levels. We talk about defense on Oasis. Fantastic defense here again.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't really fault it. I was concerned with what they came out because I felt that the Torbjorn it was almost impossible for it to not be expected by Irvine, but by what they did, they didn't have a plan. Torbjorn check not met here. Please, people, don't make me say that ever again.
On Nambani. Well, Jax, I mean, just as a quick aside before we continue on coverage here, I mean, maybe we haven't seen Torbjorn be effective, but it's clear that it can be effective, right?
Like, we've seen Torbjorn on Nambani defense forever.
Maybe that's because the teams that have faced it and seen it being effective know how to break it down. Here, maybe because of just the pressure and the stage, maybe Irvine just doesn't have the practice at dealing with that kind of a strategy. So
I don't really like 402 on attack here. Like,
well, 402 is what University of California Berkeley running on their attack here with the Moira as well, Jax. And they got a lot of point pressure. Well, I mean, some of it is a strategy on the side of UCI running their own Ep.76 combo in a 2-2-2 formation here, not getting finishing blows. You're going to be doing a lot of chip damage, and when you build up your defense around a chip damage kind of comp like this, and you're running that chip damage against a 402, you're asking for trouble. And
I mean, that was part of the difference, right? Like, I'm looking at the Soldier Tracer here for Irvine, and they just didn't get the value. Like, the attackers slowly and surely, though, ran them over Lepelos.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it was just too much meat, as one might say, for Irvine to handle. But
it's match point now.
It's match point just that quickly, and we're on to Anubis. Jax, UCI having to attack first. California Berkeley here having to go on defense, and we get to see your favorite hero again immediately.
I don't know the rule set here, because one of the things I was saying to myself is I want Irvine to defend first. For me, the best thing that Cal did or does is their defense. And I was just saying to myself, Irvine, you need to just regroup. Just make Cal go on the attack first, right? That's something. But again, I don't know what the rule set here was or who got to pick. But after what happened on Nambani, I'm looking at 2CP and I'm saying Irvine is done. Like, how do you not Lepelos? But okay, maybe something different happened. You tell me what happened here.
Yeah, so they actually find Izzy B the Zen early. UCI Irvine using their 402 get that kill onto the Zen. University of California Berkeley doing well on stalls with a decent try time taking off, but they do lose that first fight. They switched to Reaper.
I will say, Lepelos, a line built up Molten Core in that extended fight.
Yeah, one of the best Molten Core percentages I've seen on Torbjorn in pro play, and I'll call this pro play for the sake of conversation. But
okay,
I mean upper level play is broadcasted, whatever you want to call it. He does it way quicker.
I like this defense is what they draw out, right? Because he had the Molten Core and he used it, but Bayrod, the Lucio player for Irvine, he built up the sound barrier. But in order to guarantee that they got the fight in that push, he had to use it. Yeah. So he doesn't have sound barrier for the snowball Lepelos. Yeah. They had other ultimates after they capped it out. The Earth Shatter, they had Earth Shatter, they had Self Destruct, they had the Graviton. So Irvine did still have offensive or CC ultimates. They didn't have the sustain ultimate. But maybe they don't need it. I mean, Lepelos, Earth Shatter, Graviton, Self Destruct.
Yeah,
with those are the ultimates. You should get some pretty good percentage points on your B point attack.
Yeah, I agree with you. And in fact, California as well switching their comp up a little bit, going to be even more of a hurt right off the start. They switched to Reaper, May, Reinhardt. That's 3 people you just changed all of a sudden here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a line went from Torbjorn to May. He didn't have the
Molten Core up anymore.
Yeah,
but
so that one is okay. But it helps him out, Lepelos, by Looter, the DPS player. For Irvine on the Zarya, he comes out, has the Graviton. What do we say? Graviton has the potential to be a fight ender. Graviton gets eaten, Lepelos.
Yeah, you do not want to do that. Quantum great on the defense matrix here. Nobody likes to say that when it happens to you, but let's be honest, good read on the play.
Yeah.
and got that graviton surge. Even helps prevent the snowball, but not enough to
I
prevent
mean,
the snowball
Lepelos, here's
entirely.
like the thing is the graviton got eaten, and so you're saying, well, they're kind of screwed.
Yeah,
They still got 60% off of the other ultimates that they had. Aligned Lepelos in
yeah.
this extended first fight builds the blizzard now.
Very quick blizzard. Listen,
Lepelos, what is this guy doing here?
I,
Molten Core first fight, now Blizzard first fight?
I've got to say, in terms of this level of performance, I think eyes in the future on this aligned player. He seems to be someone at this level that's at the top of his game, at least right now, and I could easily see him being scouted into the pathway to pro. Jax,
If he can, Lepelos, he started out on
if he can
McCree,
afford it, but
now Torbjorn. We also he's a tracer player
yeah.
levels. He is a tracer player.
But that
Now we
May
see
Blizzard
May,
though,
and he's executing.
that
Right?
Blizzard huge part of why they are able to stop
Yeah.
the capture. They shut down the next push easily. Then Serpy Thief, beautiful Earth Shatter in the next fight.
That's the second time he gets a fatty shatter.
Yeah, second time in the full match so far.
Yes. Sorry. Yes.
Then off of that, Jax, this is when University of California Berkeley push up with the May and sort of semi spawn camp UCI basically at the first choke coming out of the attacker's spawn. And that was a
this was dirty.
little punishing by them. They got some free time of holding. To their credit though, Irvine quickly saw what was happening. They pushed the right side quickly to force out another Earth Shatter. They get cleaned up, but they force University of California Berkeley back, and that's important so that they can get another attack in. In Jax, it might have been a couple fights later, but with Graviton Surge being eaten again, University of California Irvine doing work despite it, able to clean up and take that point with 4.4 seconds. So two major things, like to stay with that kind of presence, like despite losing Graviton Surge twice and still winning fights, they still have something going their side. They still have a little bit of persistence and fight in them, and that's good. But you don't want to get Graviton Surges eaten.
The second time, Lepelos, they were fortunate. Learned to play the Reinhardt player. He had Earth Shatter. He got 2 with it. The self-destruct came out from Lion Poke. He got 1. The Convalescence from the who was it? I forgot who was it playing.
I think, on this one? Or
He
Select.
got 2 with the Convalescence, and then Tilda on the Reaper got the cleanup. That's why they were to cap it out with 4.4 seconds left. Them losing the Graviton right there.
Not why
that
they
is that is. I mean, Levels. One of the problems that I have right is they had 6 minutes and 25 seconds to push the second point. The very first push, the Graviton got eaten. He didn't get another Graviton until the end of the round.
Yeah.
What was he doing for 6 minutes, Lepelos? On Zarya.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've talked
6
about
minute grab.
DPS on Zarya and that potentially being a source of potential
Part of the
problems.
problem was that spawn camp. Listen, people, I linked it in chat here. I might link it on Twitter. Align's May play was fantastic, Lepelos, and they were able to play so aggressive because of it. This tank heavy lineup is slow, it's clumsy. He would wall them off, and then what? You're zoned out. You don't have map control, and I love the aggression. I love the aggression out of Berkeley, Lepelos. Their defense is fantastic, but now they have to go on the attack because as we've seen, capping out 2CP not the easiest thing to do, Lepelos. So how did they go on their attack?
On their attack, they find value right off the start, running against Irvine, who was running Orisa, Widow, Junkrat, Mercy on defense.
Okay, Widow. Okay.
California, though, running 402 here, University of California, Berkeley, not dying to the Riptire.
No.
That came out quickly against that 402 comp. Bit of an issue because just like that, they capture that A point quickly. Thankfully, though, it was Lion Poke
random.
there.
It was random.
You say random, I say it pretty well.
Lepelos. Random self-destruct kills is why they did not get snowballed right there, man. Because the freight train was coming.
You're forcing a decision there of the people trying to avoid it. If you watch what happened, he aimed that self-destruct so that it hit a pillar, so that it looked like diagonally it was going to go beyond the pillar if you didn't have the right angle. It causes a read on the opponents to judge where it's going to land when it explodes, and it's taking your mind out of the game. Here, the misread, the forced error out of those players, Jax, that's why they die, and that's what you're trying to do with the self-destructs. key moment though,
I
so they get that hold here. What was it enough though, Jax? I don't think so.
I mean,
Like, it's still early.
it bought them a little bit of time because they had switched to a Sombra composition,
Yeah,
level of
select.
Sombra. Second fight, Select had the EMP, not the best EMP. So one of the things I'm looking at for Irvine, they don't get the most out of their ultimates. They were able to hold, but not so much of the EMP. Although perhaps the EMP softened up the enemy so that they were able to hold that second fight. But let's be real, Leplos. The 402 kept coming.
Yeah.
The Reaper wasn't enough to stop that freight train. They got run over.
Speaking of that freight train, can
And
we talk Slurpee Thief landing another Earth Shatter?
yeah,
Another
I
big one to keep that train rolling here.
I did want to correct myself because I just so happened to take a look at my other monitor. Looter switched off of Zarya on their attack to go Tracer, and they switched back to Zarya again
Yeah.
later on. So they did try different things. They went from a 402 to a 312 back to a 402. So he was not on Zarya for the full 6 minutes. Oh, I did want to correct myself there. That would be why I didn't see more gravitons, but the Tracer didn't work. So
So
we have
he didn't
4
work on
minutes.
Zarya.
We have a minute right now for Irvine's attack level, their second attack, and then Cal has like
They
four
had
and a half, 5 minutes.
yeah, that like I think it was like 4.5 minutes basically,
Yeah.
or 4:26 if I remember correctly, something like that. That on their second attack. So Irvine has to do something, and Jax may on that first point defense with a 76 coming out for University of
Levelos.
California, Berkeley. Who would
I love
expect
this.
that?
I did not, and I love this one because it's something that you often say. This is mainly about payload maps where a team has 1 minute, right? Say if it's Kings Row or Junkertown, a team has 1 minute on their second attack, and we often say just zone them out, right? Like just end the fight, have something that ends the fight. And I know you often mention, maybe not on the podcast, but in our private talks, you say you don't mind a May here because Blizzard, Lepelos, zones you out. If you want to contest, then you're stuck in the Blizzard and you die, right? So May here is great for the ultimate, but also great because Align already showed on their first defense he's good at using it to separate the team. And if let's be honest, they're probably expecting a 402 again
Yep.
because it's what the enemy already ran, Leplos, and it's what they ran on Numbani as well. So when you start to get predictable, then your opponent can play off of that, and we're gonna see does the May work here on 8 point defense, Leplos.
And the answer is absolutely. It comes
There you
out Icewall finding early separation here out of the quick play out of Irvine trying to come through with their tank line. Did not expect the May, did not move like there was a May there. And it cost them that first life. Irvine's quickly switching up to Mercy, Widow, Tracer.
Yeah.
But they lose out on all their alts. You know who has their alts? University of California, Berkeley does. And they're able to leverage those in the extended fight to hold out without losing that first stick. Great play. I agree with you, Jax, on the points you made there. I love the how do you want to call this? So the strategy of the team coming out there in the moment for this.
I mean,
play.
this is just. I'm sorry. I mean, it's not just outplayed, in the game, but compositions, Lepelos. This is a fantastic pick here, and then after they made the switch to the Widowmaker, I love Sheik's positioning. On Soldier, he was on the high. If you think about Anubis, the high ground on the left side where the Widow, who's on the arch, can't see him, Leplos. He's Soldier. He doesn't want to engage in a long-range fight with a Widowmaker. Looter got no value off the Widow, Leplos. He's up there saying, hi, I'm Widow. I want to shoot. Please stick your head out. And Sheik is like, I've got Tactical Visor. I'm going to stand here in the corner where you can't see me, but I can shoot all of your team that has to get to the point because it's going into overtime. I've got my positioning. You can't do anything about it. This is fantastic play here. But Lepelos, they still have to cap it out, right? 4 minutes and 26 seconds. Going off their first attack on Numbani last time, they ran him over. On Temple of Anubis, their first attack, Lepelos on first point, they ran them over. I see no reason to expect anything but the same thing. The train to run them over for a third consecutive time. So what happens?
Well, you talk about reads on their opponents here. Irvine with the read as well, saying like we're expecting a 402 coming out of UC California, Berkeley. So we're going to break out a Reaper Soldier 76 Reinhardt on 8-point defense. Interesting composition, Jax. Does hold out against the 402 off the start. California, Berkeley switches to a 2-2-2 Moira dive comp-
Yeah.
composition, resulting in some poke in
I
tac
was,
visor coming out
when
for
I saw
UCI
this,
to hold out
I,
another
I,
fight.
I really thought they would go Junkrat.
I sort of
I
agree
think
with you.
Junkrat
Yeah.
works really well here. I mean, like they had 4.5 minutes and they were struggling. I'm saying they just gonna keep trying to force this dive, and it wasn't working. I'm saying Junkrat could do a whole lot. Like Reaper doesn't really like Junkrat. He can't get to him, Lepelos. Um, and I'm saying to myself, okay, let's. I like the variety you showed with the Torbjorn on the Bonnie. I like the May picks. Like, show me something else here. And then we're down to about the final fight.
And before we get to the final fight, can we mention a couple of the big plays that happened? Like
Yeah, definitely.
select on that Zen there, getting the huge kill on the backlines to start out a fight against Alliance Tracer. Like we've mentioned Align and how good he was. He had
Yeah.
Pulse Bomb ready, and Select was going to be his target, but Select there gets a huge right click on him coming from
Would you
behind the
say
lines.
right click is a little too strong from Zenyatta
Not when
nowadays,
you're
Lepelos?
talking about Tracers,
Okay.
Jax.
I felt the need to ask. It's a question I've been mulling over in my mind after stage 1 Overwatch League, where I saw all the damage that these right clicking Zens were doing. So it's something that going into stage 2, I've got both eyes on that.
Yeah, no,
Interesting thing happened with about a minute left, Lepelos. On the defense had been holding very well, as I've said. Learn to play off screen. Misses the Earth Shatter. Like we hear the hammer come down. Like all we heard was this big this thud. The sound that the hammer makes when Reinhardt drops it. I'm saying, did he just Earth Shatter? Because we don't see it. And then I look in chat, Twitch chat, and everybody's like, Shatter? Question mark? NA ult? Question mark? And I can only assume that he saw them entering and he tried to hit the fatty Shatter, like we saw from oh my goodness, why
Slurpy
did I don't know
Thief.
his name? Yeah, Slurpy Thief. Slurpy Thief has been shattering all night, right? And I'm thinking, I can only imagine learning to play is like, this is my moment, Lepelos.
Yeah.
We don't see it, so he misses the shatter, and then it's about 30 seconds later, and what do we see? It's coming down to the final fight, Lepelos. What happens? They've been holding fantastic against this dive defense for 4 minutes.
Great play out of Irvine, and then of course, what is another match of Overwatch without another Tracer player making a moment happen? This time it's aligned again on that Tracer. He saved that Pulse Bomb through another fight and got a 3K here because of it.
Lepelos.
Just like that.
He got a 3K. Sheik was on the Genji. He got to the Reaper, who had been causing them problems. Reaper gone. That's 4 gone in the first seconds of the engagement. Align follows it up by killing the Zenyatta. That's 5, and I forget who got the 6, Lepelos. But a 3K pulse bomb out of nowhere. ZP just exploded because you didn't expect that. The defense, after 4 minutes going in, after we were reaching up on 4 minutes, there were about 30 seconds left. Everybody was expecting a full hold. Nothing that Cal was doing, Lepelos, was getting anywhere on that first point. All it needed was one tick, and they couldn't get a one tick in 4 minutes. And then aligned out of nowhere, 3K pulse bomb. And it's one of the I can't really call it a weakness, but with a Rhine, right? You're kind of set up behind the Rhine. Your whole team is based behind this Reinhardt defense, but that also leaves them in proximity, which means the pulse bomb comes in. He gets 3 players. It makes you feel bad because he missed the ultimate, the Earth Shatter when the attackers were trying to get in. Imagine, Lepos, if he hits the fatty Shatter instead of us, getting this NA ult, right? If he hits the fatty Shatter, who knows?
Yeah,
Because it was all in the same sequence. We just didn't see it. And back-to-back champions level.
It's hard, Jax. I mean, I have a very good question for you when we talk about that. We'll come around to that. But yeah, before I do, I mean, congrats there to California Berkeley, showing dominant performance except for a couple of mishaps here and there. Nothing I'm gonna really hold them to, because you can't say they've been anything but one of the strongest teams throughout the whole Tespa.
Those back-to-back champions. I mean, you can't argue with that. They dropped 2 maps. Solid play. Yeah. Really solid play.
So Irvine doing their best. They showed they had some grit to stick it in there as best as they could through this grand finals at least, and make a competition at least out of the last map there, despite being behind. Yeah. Unfortunately, not getting enough ever out of their performance or enough consistency against the superior play coming out of California and Berkeley. Be interesting to see as time goes on. Particularly with collegiate teams, changes happen quickly. Dynasties on collegiate
Graduation
teams.
levels. I mean,
I
we don't know
haven't
how
taken a
old
look
these
at the,
kids
the
are.
rosters. I don't know which of these players are going to be moving on or not
Right.
by next year. We don't know what their roster or their teams are like, and their interest in their teams and their training is like how many people are coming up and
Yeah.
interested in it for next year's. But 2 years, that's a pretty good place to standpoint.
About seven thousand
To
dollars for each player from first place.
Yeah, that's pretty
Three
huge.
thousand dollars for every second place player. So
That's
they.
like a quarter of the debt, I think, for the year. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know.
All right. I mean, congrats, California Berkeley Bears. I mean, well done.
Now, before I forget, Jax, let's do spend a
Oh boy.
moment and just talk about something here that I want to get your opinion on.
Okay.
You've mentioned Tracer. I want to talk about her ultimate here. You mentioned the 3K pulse bomb making a big difference, and the difference that it made here versus the ultimate coming out of the Reinhardt that missed on Learn to Play. Question for you: easier or harder for the Reinhardt to make an ultimate land than a Tracer?
I mean, harder because it can be blocked. I mean, because
what's bigger? What's a bigger impact on?
the Earth Shatter can be blocked. There's terrain issues at time with the Earth Shatter. See, thing is, Earth Shatter's actually been nerfed. It used to go up higher than it does right now. Like you used to be able to catch those jumping Genjis in the air and knock them down. Pulse Bomb though has stayed the same because Tracer, for whatever reason, is the only hero that has not been touched since the game went live levels. They based it. People try to tell me that the game is balanced around Tracer. I say it's BS because Tracer is not a balanced hero. I'm sorry. Tracer is overpowered. We've had this discussion 3 or 4 times. But when it comes to your question,
Yes.
Earth Shatter is harder to hit.
So
Tracer. I mean, when a Tracer misses a pulse bomb, that is all on the Tracer player missing. The Reinhardt, it can be blocked. It can who knows what, man. But it can actually be interrupted. I've seen the Reinhardts get the Earth Shatters interrupted now. Tracer, you can't interrupt pulse bomb.
so do you think?
I mean, can you? I don't see how.
I mean, I think when there's lag online, I
It
think
has
you
to be
can't be
split
killed
second
before.
timing.
It is, and let's go back though, and well, it is plus lag. Okay, so let's take that back. More value out of an Earth Shatter than a pulse bomb, though, Jax. Like, do you think the Earth Shatter is more valuable when it lands?
I mean, see, in this case, it's a bit. The pulse bomb here is so great because it got 3 people. Most of the time, it's you're only expecting 1 kill. When you get more than one, it's gravy. It's a little bit extra on the side. When you hit a shatter, sometimes you might go for a solo shatter, depending on what you have in front of you. But quite often, the Reinhardts, they're lining up to get 2 to 3 or the very nice fatty 4 to 6 levels.
Yes.
And
So all I'm gonna say then, Jax, you're telling me the numbers, unlike certain other people who wouldn't tell me the numbers. The numbers here that you're telling me is Reinhardt, slower building alt charge, harder to land, potential for more values, but much harder to land, and maybe less impactful overall. And that's somehow okay compared to the overall alt balance.
I mean,
in
Pulse
general.
Bomb is an AoE ability, but I mean, nowadays people throw it on tank. They want to get a Diva. I suppose Diva is the counter with you can eat it because we actually saw Pulse Bomb get eaten. I believe it was Alliance Pulse Bomb that got eaten, if I'm not mistaken, on the B point there. So there is a somewhat of a soft counter. I guess Genji can deflect it. I have not seen a deflected Pulse Bomb in a very long time though. Those Tracer's broken. You know this. Like you pose this question as if we don't know the truth here about Tracer. It's just people defend her. I don't know why. I think she's too. Her kit is perfect. Now you could tell me she's balanced if everybody had a balanced kit like that levels, but they don't.
Yeah.
You don't. I mean, high mobility, a
Fast building,
cleanse,
impactful
a
alt.
heal. I mean, AoE nuke bomb is like no, not balanced. But again, congratulations to the Cal Bears.
Let's move on though.
We
We had a little bit of a rant, Jax. Let's go ahead and talk about some of the other scene stuff that's happening in Overwatch this week before we get to our
Oh, well, plus we're
preview of
already at
Stage 2.
50 minutes, dude. What
I,
is that?
we
See,
had
I
the
blame
Torbjorn
Levels.
rant.
You're supposed to be
We had this one.
managing the clock.
Don't worry.
Toasty Lock here in chat. I have not seen a clock from him since the very beginning.
We are
He's
moving
also
quick, Jax.
fired.
You gotta follow me through this because we've got the PIT. PIT is actually not done, Jax. So we don't have a lot to discuss because we are in the playoff stages right now.
Groups. Okay,
but we can talk about
playoffs.
group stages. So let's go ahead and talk about Group 1, Group 2, see how things ended up. Group 1, we had Fusion University there winning that dominant performance. 8-0 map scoreline. I think that's enough to say how dominant they were.
Yeah.
Not far behind them, though, Fractal Esports here, 3-1, 6-2 map performance in order to get through in that second spot. Kungrana, 2-2. No Clout 1-3, and LCG Overwatch in the 5th spot, unfortunately not making it through the playoffs.
I mean, Fractal Esports made up of multiple former top 500 Xbox One players, Lupos, that made the conversion to PC. So
They're doing
I think
well.
one of their players actually still does play with a controller. That might be the Mercy player. This is what Twitch chat has been telling me.
Hey, who knows?
What the Reddit detectives have been telling me. So I don't have proof here, but the proof here that I do have, Lupos, are the results.
Yes.
For them to be second and Kongarna to be third, that's a surprise. If I'm honest, that's a surprise. Kongarna, though, some question marks here. Coming off of beat Lepelos, where they struggled at beat, they didn't get past Fusion, they didn't get past Envision, and now we're gonna add another team to come in ahead of them with Fractal. Like
you're starting to be
going into trials for contenders.
I've been joking about it all along, Jax, but Kongarna looking like Kongarna.
All right. I mean,
that's pretty much it.
Finishing out Group 1.
Group
I think
2.
4 out of the 5 teams qualify. So LCG Overwatch 0-4, 0-8. Mapline Lepelos sadly wasn't their tournament. And then we go over to Group 2 where we have Envision.
A little bit closer. Envision not going through unscathed here. In fact, we have 3 teams sitting at 3-1. The only difference being map score lines.
Yeah.
So Envision Esports with a greater map scoreline, 7-3, losing their game against Renegades, Jax, in a 2-1 scoreline here, but picking up that map was important for that scoreline difference. Last night, Leftovers 3-1 with a 6-2 scoreline. They lost their game against Envision, and Renegades 3-1. They lost their game against last night Leftovers, right? So 1, 2, 3. Sort of comparable here. Full Send ending up in that 4th spot with a 1-3 record, and the Savages, unfortunately, 0-4, not making it out of Group 2. That sets up the quarterfinals.
I will say that group game between Envision and Renegades, the last one, Lepelos.
Yeah.
Renegades turned it around. Like it was first map Hollywood. Envision finished with 254 seconds left in the time bank, so a considerable amount of time. But then you go to Anubis, where they full hold Envision on Anubis Lepelos. And by full hold, I mean not 0% for their attack. And then you go to Nepal Lepelos, Renegades 100-0, 100-0.
Up and down.
So
you're not feeling good if you're Envision, to be honest.
This was wow. Like I Envision coming off of beat. I had Fusion, then I had Envision, and then I didn't know between Fractal and Kongarna, right? So I didn't know. But I'm looking at this Renegades team, and if I'm not mistaken, Renegades signed Overwatch mid-season pickups. So that's why if you're wondering where this Renegade roster came from, that's where they came from. They were formerly Overwatch League mid-season pickups. So they go into Renegades. And now I'm looking at this team here. Hidan Lepos, Hidan, you have Louis, Guru, Ube, Mac, New Face Guy.
Yeah, pretty good.
Really impressed me. Really impressed me out of Renegades. Compared to the Renegades, if we go back to Contender Season 1, Lepelos, Renegades was a joke.
Yeah, well, let's talk about Renegades a little bit more, though. In the quarterfinals of the playoffs here, they have to take on Fractal Esports.
Okay, Fractal, the up-and-coming team that I'm very curious about.
Well, up-and-coming, let's talk a little round scores here. 3-2, they started out with a win against Renegades on Kings Row. Lose 2-1, Temple of Anubis. And then 2-1 on Renegades in a pretty close Nepal round in order to take that series, relegating Renegades to the losers round. Fractal going up into the semifinals.
This is interesting. So Kings Row, I won't say dominant. They finished with 75 seconds left on the time maker Fractal. Temple of Anubis was 2-1 in favor of Renegades Lepelos. 214 seconds left in the time bank. Really strong performance. And then you go to Nepal that you mentioned, 100-0 to Fractal first round. Then 172 Renegade second round, and then 100-99 Fractal third round. So these two teams here, pretty close.
Yeah.
Pretty close teams.
Yeah, that's true. And so let's talk about the other quarterfinal game that we had, Envision versus No Clout. This one, not really a competition, let's be honest. Envision 2-0, No Clout 0 on that one, of course. No Clout, unfortunately, not able to get
when you say
beyond
not
checkpoint
even close,
1.
Watchpoint Gibraltar,
Yeah.
Envision had 183 seconds left, and in
Yeah.
the second map of Hanamura,
294 seconds left when they
that
kept
is not very close.
Yeah, when you can almost say it's about 5 minutes of time difference.
Yeah,
that's sort of troubling. Jax, that puts up semifinals of Envision versus Fractal Esports. I saw this one earlier today. Pretty close one. In fact, Fractal's starting again off well, 2-1 on Route 66 here.
Okay.
Envision Esports fighting their way back on Horizon Lunar Colony, 4-3 on that map in a pretty close round. There.
They had 2 minutes left in their time bank, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, Scarline's wrapping up, but the defense from Fractal, unfortunately, just not quite the same level to handle Envision. But then we were put on Oasis and Jax. I think those were some pretty close rounds, if I'm not mistaken.
196 first round to Fractal, 199 second round to Envision, 171 third round to Envision. So Fractal.
They're competitive.
The scores here are very similar to their series against Renegades on King of the Hill Lepelos. If I'm looking at Fractal, something to be concerned about is their 2CP play. Because Renegades took it 2-1, Envision took it 2-1. It's something that they might want to work on. I mean, they do good on payload, right? They won both their payload maps. It's that's great. Because for me, payload is where the game is actually played. But since we do have these other game modes, you can't really give them up, and they fell just a little bit short here. But I'm looking at this, right? Like I'm trying to place teams because I'm going back to beat again. So I had Fusion and Envision, right? Those two were my two teams, and then I got into Fractal and Congarna, and now I have to throw Renegades into this group as well, Lepelos. So I'm thinking anywhere between Renegades, Fractal, and Vision on any given Sunday, a team might be able to take it. So now the question is, can any of them catch Fusion University?
Yeah, that is a big question. We don't have the answers of the other quarterfinals this week, but Fusion still looking a little bit of a cut above at the moment. So these other teams have to start practicing them to get on that level. Let's be honest.
Tomorrow we get the other two quarterfinals and the semifinals, Lepelos, and then we don't. Okay. So yeah, we don't get the finals for over a week. So it'll be, wow. It's Overwatch League. This is why it's being drug out, Lepelos.
There you go. So
come on. All right, fine.
It's no Overwatch Campeonato Brasileiro, but
we don't mention that anymore.
That is it for the PIT Championship coverage this week. We do have small coverage of the Swiss Esports.
The what?
The Swiss Esports League Winter 2018 Premier Division. I guess they have multiple divisions, Jax. But
I didn't even know this was a thing, Lepelos.
Well, okay. Neither did I. It's just getting started, though, so there's not really too many results to discuss.
I'm going to keep our eye on it. Okay.
We're going to keep our eye on it. In fact, all we have are 3 matches done currently. We're not even done week 1, so I don't even want to give the full one.
Yeah,
we'll keep our eye out on this. It ends.
Just letting people know that this tournament is going on. I have not found Twitch links yet or YouTube links. If I do, I will pass it along. But as of right now, I have not found any links.
Let me just say, 7 weeks of regular season matches here.
No, again with the 7 weeks, dude. Okay.
4 games a week out of 8 teams. It looks like the name that I am familiar with from other games here is My Insanity. We've seen them before. They have a sponsored team here as well. I don't know who is on the team, so I haven't taken a look. We'll come back around to this one at a later date, Jax. Let's move on though to get to what we want to discuss, which is a preview for Overwatch League.
What has happened to the See, we're supposed to be wrapping up the show right now. We're at the hour mark, and we haven't even gotten to the Overwatch League.
I thought you gave me 7 minutes. We need like 10 minutes to wrap this up. There should be nothing though, right?
Okay.
Okay.
You think we're gonna get through this in 10 minutes?
So,
Toasty, give me a clock.
Well, why don't we just start from the bottoms up, Jax? Why don't we start from the bottoms up? I'm of course talking about Shanghai Dragons and their changes that they have coming up for Stage 2. We've mentioned it, but do you think they're going to make an impact? We've
I
got
know they
a
won't
few
make an impact
people.
for the first few weeks of stage 2 levels because of the visa issues. They don't have the visas to get here. So, and not only that, if they do practice, they'll be practicing, from the respective countries where we've got a bit of a ping issue when they're trying to come into North America. We also have language issues. So for those who are unaware, Shanghai Dragons Leplos, they brought in 3 Koreans. I think we were saying in the pregame, we were surprised, or I was surprised because when I looked at Shanghai, they were the team. Anytime I thought about where the improvements were going to come from, I was saying they're the ones they can only pull from a pool of Chinese players. And then they said, no, you're wrong. We're going to bring in 3 Korean players, and we're also going to bring in your boy Zhu Fanjun, who is now named Sky. So we go from Zhu Fanjun to Sky, but he's coming, Leplos, and I can't wait to see it. You have Fearless from Element Mystic, fantastic main tank. Gajuri, how do you say her name? Gajuri, is that right?
Giguri, I think.
Solid off tank, right? You know what, I'm hesitating because I didn't, I don't want to be too hard, except I know I'm just gonna be honest. This is my show. I can be honest. I'm not. Is she good in ladder? Yes. I'm not sold on her yet. She has not sold me on being Overwatch League ready. I'm just being honest, okay? Maybe
Yeah.
people, you can see me hate me if you want. I'm just saying I did this to everybody else. I'm not. I don't prove it to me.
I mean, if we're talking about that, let's be honest. Though we've seen some other non-Overwatch League players in the league too.
I asked the same questions of them too. Like, okay.
Yes, and we've also seen players, or sorry, we haven't seen some players that are in the Overwatch League, right? Like, Grim Reality is an example. Snow might be an example. Joe Meister might be an example.
I think Snillo is too young. But yeah,
Snillo is too young. Actually, he's coming up. I actually have the dates for people that are up and coming, so we can talk about that. But here we are. They also have Fearless.
Let me ask you a question, Leplos.
They needed some changes. I think this was good though.
I think you were saying 6 months or longer before Shanghai got their first win.
Yeah, I might have been
with what they brought in
it.
now. Are you willing to revise that upwards?
Listen, Miami has not shown any improvement in stage 1. I think they've made some changes coming in, but are those changes enough not to drop a map against Shanghai Dragons? At this rate, I think in stage 2, if they play, I think Shanghai Dragons will take a map off of Mayhem. Let me look. I honestly don't know. I'd have to look through the stages to see if they're playing. Off the top of my head, they actually may not though. So it might be stage 3.
I don't know. They don't play this stage. From my very quick look, Florida and Shanghai do not play.
So it might be stage 3 before they still get another win. Let's be honest.
You think Florida is the only team that they have a chance of beating?
Well, look at the schedule right now. They have some pretty hurt teams. Like maybe Fusion, if Fusion drops some games. I don't think Dynasty or Uprising are going to drop games in week 3. I'm just going down the list. Gladiators Gladiators and Shock in week 2. Potentials. Fuel, I would doubt it, but it's possible. Valiant, I also doubt it. That week 2 is going to be defining week for Shanghai Dragons in stage 2. It'll also be defining for both Shock and Gladiators.
I need to check something right quick while you're talking. That's okay.
And if you're talking about these players not making an impact in the first few weeks, you're talking about that stage 2. I think Shanghai Dragons have enough to improve in that time? Maybe. I think those might be some close games.
So you're thinking more stage 3 before Shanghai gets their win?
Yeah, at this point, yeah.
Okay. So that's Shanghai Leplos from Shanghai. We're just going right up. We go. Who finished at the bottom of stage 1 after
Mayhem,
Shanghai?
I think it was Mayhem was in second. Of course, we know about some of their moves. Like we knew about the announcements of some of their moves. Jax, I'll put it that way. But no, they brought in a second coach finally. That was one of the things that they have done, as well as pick up Zappis. And then, of course, they also picked up a couple of other players from Korea, Insaya player, and who was that?
Awesome guy.
And Awesome Guy from Meta Athena here. And of course, I think was R2 Dur, or how do you?
He's the coach that they were.
But was he from Meta Athena? I should check that.
Let me see if I click his name. It might actually tell me Kongdu. He was a Kongdu coach.
So those are some good pickups. We'll see if they can put them in. I don't think I'll see much out of them until at best week 3 or 4.
I think Saya Player is a fantastic pickup. I really
but
enjoyed him
getting
from
coordination
Apex.
together.
Awesome guy. If I'm to be honest, awesome guy was awesome the first time we saw him. That Gosu Weekly way back
Yeah.
when him and who was it LW Red beat up on Splice and had that incredible. I think that was the first time we saw a team take a payload 1 minute and go all the way to the end. That's when Blizzard had first made the changes to the format where we had the overtime like that, and they took it the entire length of Hollywood against Splice to win that Gosu Weekly, and after that, it's not been so awesome for him.
Yeah,
So I can only assume that there's something in scrims or something that the coach they brought in likes about him.
yeah, or
Um,
who's available that they like that can work
I mean,
or
these are
is willing to work
improvements,
for them.
but
They are,
levels.
but they're
I
small
have to worry about the
improvements.
language. I have to, the integration. So I think this is okay. It has to be an improvement. It can't get worse for Florida.
Yeah,
Only thing worse for Florida would be losing to Shanghai, who
yeah,
they don't
and
play this stage. So
so the question for me in Florida Mayhem Land, can they get a win this stage at all in stage two? Right now that they
we'll
don't
see.
have the Florida versus Shanghai team, can
Yeah,
Florida get a win over some of these other teams?
I'm I'm undecided. I'm undecided. I really see the problem is it's a meta change. If we were sticking with the same meta, I would say no. With this change with Mercy seeing less play and other people coming in,
Let's be
I'll say
honest though.
yes. I don't know
Who are
who,
the
but
who are the teams that they're coming up against this stage that are the most likely? And again, it's the Shock and the Gladiators that I have to ask. Maybe the Fuel as well.
shields up, people. Shields up.
Okay, so speaking of which Jacks, speaking of Fuel, let's go ahead talk about some of the moves on the Fuel team. They picked up AKM, another DPS. They
Yep.
didn't pick up So What, and they got a transfer over from the Spitfire, getting Rascal, and as well XUC I think is available again
This
if I'm not
XUC, yeah,
mistaken.
he was only suspended for the first stage. I don't want to get into the drama, but
Yeah.
people have it has been speculated that So What was not picked up because XUC has said he plans on putting in the work here. XUC, regardless of how you feel about him, Leplos, he is a fantastic tank player. He brings you a completely different play style from Coco, who's very passive, whereas XUC is very aggressive. Uh, Rascal, I
Good
am
player, Jax.
surprised London let him go, but perhaps he was surplus to requirements and they didn't want to hold him back.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't, I don't know how much money Jack got from Hastro, but a Rascal, Rascal's a starter. Rascal could be a starter in this league. His DPS play is that good. The question is, level, do they need more DPS?
The answer is no, Jax. They have so many DPS on their team. When you talk
I,
about Taimu, if you talk about Taimu, Seagull, Effect, Rascal, AKM, we have almost a team of DPS at this point. And if you
I,
include Harry Hook being able to go onto the Soldier
he can go
76,
hit scan. I mean, he's played Reaper as well. I'm looking at this, and I think for that last spot, I would have liked to see another flex tank. If I'm
yeah,
being honest here,
maybe they're going to
Levelos.
move Taimu over into Flex Tank or someone else into that position to
I
shore
mean,
up that weakness, honestly, that they have there, because right now they have Mickey in that
I will
position,
say this.
and Mickey's improved a lot on particularly Roadhog. I've liked his play there,
Yeah,
and he's improved on his other play. But like, if I was going to talk about one of the weaknesses of Fuel, that is one of the weaknesses a little
this
bit compared
gives
to the
Coach
top line
Kai
picks.
Kai
Floundering.
a
He's
plethora
floundering,
of
Jax. He's
options now,
floundering.
Levelos. Like this is
They're not
this is
sure about what they're doing, and it's showing. It's showing in the pickups, and that's
okay.
concerning.
So they were third from bottom here, Levelos. Does this move them up the rankings?
No, their problems aren't with the players, but
Mercy
with
meta
the
change. Like
play.
Dallas is one of the teams who said they can't wait for Mercy meta to be over, which I just don't understand because they had Chips, and Chips is a great Mercy player, or he was. Um, so they're third from bottom here, right? So they were, do you say they can be fifth or sixth now? If you take a look at the standings from stage one, right? They were down there.
No,
What do you think?
I think they're going to be fighting probably for eighth or so right now with the performance out of the other teams.
Eighth, Lepos, you say eighth?
Yeah, I
That
absolutely do.
low?
Well, okay, like who are they going to surpass? In fact, we got two of them right now. Jax, let's talk about the fourth last team, San Francisco Shock. First thing, can we note on the Shock, Nomi, IDD, QD, not really there. so much. They did have a signing for their front or coaching staff. I think they got
Yeah.
Junk Buck there on the 12th of February, if I'm not mistaken. As well in stage two, March 18th, we have 150K coming into play in Sinatra. 18 on March 18th, and then Super March 28th, 10 days later, Super also available to play. So they have
So
some new
March
players
18th,
coming through.
Lepelos. March 18th puts them behind second week where they don't have him available for Shanghai. So that's iffy. March 7th, they play Dallas Lepelos. March 10th, so that's 3 weeks. They don't have 150K. You said March 18th? Nope, he misses the March 16th game. Lepelos, they don't have him for week 4. March 17th, week 4 against Houston. They would want him there. You know what that leaves him available for? Florida Lepelos March 21st, and then Seoul on March 23rd.
Yeah, so
Super
Super
doesn't
not
play
even
this
getting.
stage.
Super is stage 3, so he's not able to slot in this week. I I think San Francisco Shock going to struggle in this series. I am looking for them to move down. I think Fuel can surpass them. So there you go. Fuel up
So as
a,
of right now,
a slot.
you're moving the Fuel up a slot ahead of the San Francisco Shock. I
Yes.
don't have a problem with that.
Okay, so
That brings us
to the
to
next team. Your Gladiators are here,
Shields
Jax.
up, Lepelos. Shields up.
Shields up. Let's talk about Shields up. They picking up Fissure from Spitfire.
Lepelos. What a pickup here. I don't know how much Cronky had to pay Jack to get Fissure out of London. Fantastic tank here.
Biggest upgrade out of like straight up upgrade out of somebody that is
I mean,
Overwatch League
listen.
right ready.
Okay, I have to be honest. I'm highly critical of Iron Mix Lepelos. The guy cannot. His timing on his leaps are bad. He's always he cost them a number of fights because he goes in, he dies, he doesn't kill anything. And if I'm also being honest, Lepelos, this is not enough. What did I tell you? I wanted at least a 10-man roster.
Yeah.
They're now at 8. The DPS is still suspect.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. You know who has lots of DPS? Dallas Fuel. This is why I think they're going to be fighting over 8th place, maybe with Gladiators.
Why didn't they get Rascal? Give me Fissure, give me Rascal. I feel a whole lot better about the Gladiators. I'm sorry. Sure for Hydration and Asher. No. Dallas Fuel jump over the Los Angeles Gladiators, Lepelos.
So there you go. Dallas Fuel, according to you there.
We're
now,
not done.
now
I mean,
in
we're slowly, we'll see where the Fuel finish as we go. But as of right now, they are in 8th place.
Yeah. So right now they're in 8th place. I can see, maybe not an overall, but for the stage, I think, in the next standings it will be Florida or like probably San Francisco Gladiators still fighting for like 9-10. Mayhem maybe getting in there a little bit. Shanghai probably not winning a map again, stage 2. So that brings us to 7 and above. Jax, this is where it gets a little bit even harder. Fusion coming through. Jax, no.
Same roster, Sato's still not available. He still 30 games he was
30
suspended,
games,
right?
Yeah, 30 games he was suspended. That puts him 15
Stage
weeks,
4.
aka 3 stages out. But we do have Snillo becoming available on March 2nd.
Oh, Snillo. What? Okay, you say that, right? What are you gonna put him in for Carpe?
Exactly. Good question. Who does he fill in for? Where are the weaknesses on the Fusion team? Like they have no major pickups,
Lepelos,
no major changes.
Weaknesses. I'm looking at Fraggy. Let's be honest. Main tank compared to other main tanks in the league, he's not there unless it's Reinhardt, and this is still not a Reinhardt meta. Although perhaps Lepelos, if we see 402, maybe. But if it's a 402, then what do you do with Carpe? Shadowburn can play Zarya or Carpe. One of them. What do you do with one of them? I bet you they really do wish they had Sato. Sato, from what I'm hearing, Level is really good off tank, but I can say that he's not available. I don't. What does Snillo do?
Yeah,
Where's Joe Meister at? Lepelos, if it's 402, Lucio is back at 402.
Yeah, there's definitely potentially some meta changing.
Dayfly, you can put him in on Moira, Lepelos. Is that his true calling?
Jax, either way, I think Fusion they've shown to be.
Does Dallas pass Philadelphia, Lepelos?
No, Dallas does not pass Philadelphia. I think Dive is going to be more important than 402. If you remember what broke 402 last time, it was Dive being too good. It's not going to be any different now, honestly, for the better teams, because Dive will always kill supports in a 402. That's going to be the new meta, in my opinion. But let's not get into that.
March 17th, Dallas versus Philadelphia.
I think Philadelphia will be able to take that over Dallas.
Okay.
Uh,
All right.
but we'll see by that date if there's been any changes. I still think Fusion though will be struggling to move out of their current positioning, particularly when you look at the teams above them. Next one, Boston Uprising. Another team that didn't see a lot of changes going into stage 2 here. I think they're going to do just fine. We still don't have.
We see an improvement from 6-4 record here, Lepelos.
I don't think. Honestly, no. I think they're going to be pretty stagnant in their positioning. I think everything is going to be a fight from here and above. I think they might have it in them to move over Seoul Dynasty, but that speaks more about where Seoul Dynasty is currently than it does about Uprising.
I look at Boston and I think one of their advantages that they had in stage 1 is now gone, and that people didn't know. Yeah. Like maybe you have scrim results, right? But scrim results and scrim video and having game footage in game, league footage is completely different here, Lepelos. And now there's tape, and there's going to be more tape, and that means people have a chance to study and learn and figure you out. And I'm looking at Boston, fantastic performance from them in stage 1. I look at them and it's the same question that I have of Houston. Where do they get more to go up, Lepelos?
Well, I mean, they have a lot of players that they aren't using, and I don't think they're going to make the difference here. That's why I don't
see where it's going to come from.
They're still a strong team, though, Jackson. I think they'll do fine comparative to the teams lower than them, which makes them sort of in place right now.
One thing I'm looking at, Dreamcasper, you did good in stage 1. Now we're on the consistency track here, Lepelos.
Yeah.
Can he keep it there?
So
we'll see.
I think his performance said yes. Here's the deal, though. I think they'll probably overtake Dynasty because Dynasty's not performing. If you look at the switches,
look at Soul then, Lepelos. I mean, Lepelos, we're moving away from Mercy meta, which did not favor Soul at all.
Yes, but if you look at their trouble on support, it's clearly more than just that. Like they're doing so badly on support, they're bringing Guido in on support. In fact, they're doing so badly on their support role. As much as everybody loves the old Toby Ryuje Hung combo, right, they were doing so badly internally that they decided to bring Gambler in. There is clearly a support issue on the Dynasty team that nobody wants to talk about openly, right? Because of the history there. And if you're doing that from the coaching staff, you're seeing issues there. That's where their struggle is right now, and I think that might continue to hurt them in stage 2. I think they're gonna, particularly if you go away from a Widow being usable as much from Fleta, all of a sudden the other DPS on the side of Dynasty become more important, and that's where one of their other weaknesses were. So now you're talking about a struggling support line and other DPSs becoming more important to the Dynasty team. I have trouble seeing them moving up, and I can certainly see in that kind of a situation Boston overtaking them.
I think Fleta is good. I know Fleta is good. I really, really wish I had connections to ask why they felt they needed to take Fleta out on those 2 maps that they did in stage 1. It just doesn't compute to me. I think maybe, if they bring in Gambler, because if Mercy is a thing, they obviously need someone to play Mercy Lepelos. Maybe that will be Gambler.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see about that. I mean, they had Guido doing nothing, though. So,
but the DPS is there at times. I think there's inconsistent DPS from the second slot, whether it's Wiki, Bunny, or Munchkin.
Yeah,
it's inconsistent, and the timing. I didn't see enough with Kuki, but with Miro, the timing and the coordination that he had in Apex with his DPS levels and their engagement is not there. This is not the same Miro that played through the first 3 seasons. And if I go back to season 4 of Apex, one of the things that I remember is saying to myself, the coordination is off. Like, I remember at times Miro would engage. I'm saying, bro, you left your DPS behind. So, where are you going?
Yeah, and Jax, if we're talking though about like poor coordination, another team that's up here that has shown that at times, Valiant, is right above Dynasty, and here we are, no major changes. Space, one of their off tanks, still not one of their off tanks.
It's his birthday.
March 28th as well, same as Super.
So he's done.
He's not in stage 2. They have no changes. They have Verbro, Numlocked, and Grim Reality, aka number 0, aka 0 games played on their team right now. Okay, maybe did he play a game? I don't think he played a single game.
No, they didn't. So, Numlocked and Grim did not play at all. So looking at the Valiant Lepelos,
Do you think they hold their position here?
I think the meta change. I think they do hold the meta change helps them because their mercy players are awful. Whether it's Kareev or Unko or I forgot about Verbo. Verbo did play that game where Unko was had that upper body injury that was an eye problem. What is upper body injury? That's neither here nor there. Them Mercy being moved out helps the Valiant. I think they had. I look at the Valiant, and unlike Houston or Boston, I think the Valiant can contend with everybody. Lepelos. I think they can contend. It's just they have to play almost perfect in order to do that,
Yeah.
and that's asking a lot from people, and that's asking a lot from Fate, who, as you know, I think is a very aggressive tank like XQC and treads a very fine line between life and death, and that hurts them at times. I think Unko may not be able to frag like he likes to in every map. And I think Agilities and Silk Thread at times they drop off at key moments, and so the Valiant suffer as a result of that. Soon, one of their best players in stage one, Soon, was fantastic. Whether it's sneaking kills, sneaking caps, or getting kills with Widow, or his Widow actually impressed me. I thought it was much better. It was much better than what I expected.
They definitely have some interesting plays, Jax. But let's go ahead and
Do
talk
they
about.
do they advance? You said they stay where they're at.
Yeah. Do they move above anyone in the top three? Um, I think the only person that they're going to knock out in the top three right now could be the Houston Outlaws, Jackson. That shifting with the meta change. I don't think they will, just because the Outlaws, with their current roster, I think with the meta shift, particularly because I think Junkrat will still be the counter to dive
I mean, so
potential
as
will
we're
be
looking
strong
at
for
this,
them.
are we going by stage one group standings, or are we gonna go by how they finished? How London was first, then New York,
We're
then
going by
Houston.
a group that like group
If we
standings
go
right
by
now.
groups, then London would be third. Levels. They
Yeah,
fell apart in the group in the. Okay, that final day was a bit rough for them, and
and
as
their
we went over
changes
the
though,
schedule,
their
it was a
changes.
very rough schedule.
They lost Rascal and they lost Fisher. They traded them off. Doesn't really weaken their team though, does it, Jax?
Here's the thing. I wonder. I mean, they Bishop and Jack talked about their depth of roster being one of their strengths so much that it left me scratching my head because now you don't have that full roster to
Managing
the
egos,
levels. They
Jax.
used to be they used to be able to run two different scrims at the same time. They used to have full organization scrims because it was a 6v6.
Yeah,
You don't have that now.
yeah, I agree.
And I think it is I mean, yes, they won stage one. I think this is a drop off.
Do
I
you,
think your preparation suffers because you cannot prepare like you did before.
do you think their
Does it drop them out
results?
of the top
Yeah,
three? No.
yeah, it doesn't. Okay, how about Outlaws then? Why don't we move quickly to them? Do you think they picked up a player here? They picked up Factor Fiction or Fact Fiction, whatever.
So solid,
FCF,
very strong tank.
very strong
Um,
tank.
I
Good.
have not seen. I know Factor Fiction has a really good Reinhardt. I have not seen Muma play enough Rhine to
At the pro
gauge
level
where he's
too.
at compared to other Reinhardt mains. I can't. However, them picking up Factor Fiction means they're shoring up what might be a possible weakness here. So that is an improvement. The question we have, Lepelos, can Linkser keep it up? I'm
Yeah,
sorry, in Linkser, same with Gigante, right? Linkser was the catalyst. You now look at Houston Outlaws, Linkser is the catalyst, Lepelos, because when you look at the other DPS on the team, I'm looking at Mindo Kusai. Wow, not really, because no one saw him play Lepelos. Didn't play. He had wisdom teeth issues. Hopefully, they're not going to pull one tooth every stage, but Clockwork Lepelos, inconsistent. Jake, we know Jake can do Junkrat. We know it. Best Junkrat in the league, if I'm being honest with
so
you here.
okay, so I'm actually going to say the following, which
Go
is
ahead.
with the meta change here, I think that the supports coming out of the Valiant can make the difference comparative to the supports of Houston Outlaws in order to break into the top three and push Outlaws to fourth.
You have questions about Boink Lepelos.
I
Banny.
listen. If you give me the supports of Unko, Verbo, Kareev versus the supports of Banny, Boink, and Raucus, yeah, I will take Kareev, and Verbo as the better support
I do
trio.
want to take a quick moment, Lepelos. Shout out to Raucus. He posted on Twitter that he lost his father recently.
Yeah,
So I hope he's able to work through that, and I hope he stays strong. I have lost both my parents, so I know how rough that is. So my thoughts and support go out to him. I just want to put that out there. I meant to say that earlier, and it wasn't until I saw his name that I remembered that. So I do hope he is coping well with this. I know everybody in the Overwatch community on that Twitter, everybody from regardless of team and organization, they were all sending him the support because they know how rough it is. That being said, I cannot disagree with what you're saying. I think the support of the Valiant is a step above the Houston Outlaws Lepelos. I look at the tanks. I love me some Cool Matt. I think he's better than who was the Envy? Sorry, I'm struggling with his name. The off tank of the Valiant.
It's going to be a
the
close
DPS
one.
Lepelos. Can Houston Outlaws DPS beat the Valiant DPS?
It depends. It depends. I think the dive is better from Valiant, and I think that will probably be the difference. I think Outlaws will still be good, but they will not be as tight on dive, and their counter dive will be stronger, so they'll be favored on certain maps, and over weaker teams they'll still win pretty easily. But when it comes to the more difficult teams, everything will be a challenge, and those map differences will be the slight edge to the advantage of Valiant come the end of stage 2. Jack, so let's talk about
Houston. I just want to say right quick, Houston.
Yeah.
Their strength of schedule to start stage 2, Lepelos, in the first week they face London and Boston. In the second week, they face Philadelphia and the New York Excelsior. Lepelos' third week after that, they face? They face the Valiant and
Miami,
Florida. So the first 2.5 weeks, Lepelos
Florida,
their season could be decided. Like they don't have time. They have to come out, where they ended stage 1.
Yeah, absolutely.
Holy crap.
Absolutely. So they have to come out into the new meta with all cylinders firing. Jax, I'm not sure if that's going to work for them or not with their lineup.
That's rough, dude.
Well, speaking of rough, though, let's talk about New York Excelsior. See if they have what was a pretty good season. Stage 1 didn't make it through to the finals. Do you think that they still have the winner mentality?
Finals, but
all they have done is added to their support lineup with Enamo, Lucio from Mighty AOD/Ardiant coming in to add there.
If Lucio is going to become meta as we're seeing, then it's a good pickup. If they feel that they're weak, like we don't know if they're weak to Lucio or not, but I'm willing to say I have seen Jay Jonak Lepelos play Zen and Anna to a pretty high level. He had a little more as well. I feel comfortable saying Jay Jonak, whether it's Anna, Zen, or Moira, he'll be able to output. I think he's that good at support. I'm looking at New York. I'm going to say, mentally, can you bounce back from being so close to winning it, Lepelos, and then falling apart like that? They were up 2-0 in the finals. 2-0 in the finals is the best of 5, and they got reverse swept to a London Spitfire team who was tired. They had been playing all day. They played a full extra series, Lepelos.
Yeah.
And New York couldn't close it out.
And we haven't come to the predictions for week 1, Jax, but guess what? Friday, February 23rd, 4 p.m. PST, Spitfire versus New York Excelsior again.
Is that week 1?
Week 1.
What a Lepelos. Here, let me just ask you right quick then, because we're going up. Does New York finish the group stage 1, or does someone overtake them here?
Do they finish on top of?
Yes, the group stage.
For group stage 2?
Yeah.
This is a hard question. I think London will finish top here.
Okay.
Like London's going to finish number 1 because I think their dive is going to be slightly stronger than New York Excelsior.
Okay.
Overall, and I base that largely on the DPS. Like Sabalbi, great dive player, but you're telling me either Pine or Libero is going to be their dive partner right now.
Libero will be the Genji, if I had to guess.
And I don't think Libero is going to.
I think Pine plays. I wish Flower was available. Oh, I wish Flower was available.
Yeah.
That would make
exactly
Flower and Sabol. We've already seen what Flower and Sabol can do.
You're talking about a London Spitfire dive probably that will be coming out at us with
Prophet.
Bird Ring and Prophet or Hureg out there
good
as well, right? So.
Yeah.
I think overall Spitfire has a bit better depth for this meta.
But if it goes 402, if it's either dive or 402, Then
Then you're talking about supports, right? And London Spitfire might like you have Bedosin and Hagapen closer as well
yeah,
versus
that's really
and
strong.
on the other side you had to bring in a new support for the New York Excelsior. Jay Donak
Okay,
arc great so far,
really
but you're bringing
strong,
in a new person for there. That's why I think Spitfire
really
will
strong.
edge out for first place here. But we get to see some of that difference in that first game or between the two
All right, Leplos,
this
I want
week.
you to pull up the time to write down the predictions
Yes, I'm
for
already started getting
stage two,
ready.
week one, because we are so far over schedule. For those who are wondering, I told Leplos 65 minutes on this podcast. We're now passing 90 minutes, but Leplos Soul Dynasty versus Los Angeles Valiant. That's
Listen,
a pretty big game to start with this Wednesday.
who do you think? How's your? I'll start this one
Oh, we
off.
have new maps finally,
We
Leplos.
do have new maps,
New
so
maps.
some
Yes.
some of them we don't know what teams are weak and strong on anymore, right? We're
I'm no,
seeing.
I'm looking at Kings Row, which Soul or Lunatic High have always been strong on that map. Then again, so have the Valiant. So here we go. Soul versus Valiant Lepelos.
I am picking Valiant on this one. How about you?
I'm gonna pick Soul. I think the coaching staff there. I'm putting faith in them. This is my last time. I'm putting faith in the coaching staff of Soul to figure it out. Whatever the problem was, they have figured it out. I'm taking Soul.
All right. Well, I'm going Valiant. That brings us into the second game, which is of course
Dallas.
Dallas versus the Dragons. I think
Yeah.
it's not a big surprise off of what I said that I'm picking Dallas here as
Yeah.
well. Third game,
Shields up. Shields up, Lepelos.
I am going to agree with you on this one. I think Shields up for for this one against the Shock in game 3.
First game of the week, and as you know, Gladiators always perform better on the first game of the week. Shield is pristine. It's been restored. Second game of the week, then you start to worry about the Gladiators.
Yeah, we're the same on this one. I don't think the Shock are going to start off too strong here,
Right.
but we'll see if it's a bit of an issue or not. Takes us into day 2 where we have
London.
Houston Outlaws versus Spitfire. You think they're gonna come out firing, Jax?
I take London.
I actually agree with you on this one. I think Spitfire are going to be quicker on the turnaround into the new meta than the Outlaws are, but it's definitely going to be a good game though. I think, right? I'm just buying some times while I'm doing the write up here. So
I. This could be interesting. I think I nothing. I'm picking London, but I'm hoping for a really good game. One, because I want Houston to prove me wrong. I want them to say, Jax, we haven't, we haven't peaked. We do have room to grow. I think I don't think mechanically they have it there. It's the same problem I've had with Houston in that roster. Fine. I think third, fourth, fifth. I've always expected them to be there. I just don't think they have what it takes to take it to the next level. Maybe I'll be proven wrong, but second game level is New York Excelsior versus Florida Mayhem.
come on, is this even a thing?
New York,
New
and
York
then
all
for
the
the
way.
third game, I'm taking Boston.
Third game, Boston versus
I mean,
Fusion.
Philly could very well beat them. Philly has the they have the
They
talent.
absolutely do.
They have to prove it to me. Like Philly,
They're so up
no.
and down. I've been burned by them because I picked them based on their up, and we're just didn't they play in the last week of stage 1 if I didn't mistake that, and they got beaten down pretty badly then, or was that? I'm pretty sure it was that. One sec, let me check that. But
Yeah, they played. It was 4-0.
yeah,
February
exactly,
8th.
and it's hard to go
So
with
10 days
recent
ago.
results in this kind of
Yeah.
a situation.
Okay.
So in fact, all day 2 we're the same here. So we have Spitfire, we have NYXL, and we have Uprising taking.
Oh,
those
what
games.
a game here, Leplos. I have to go. I have to go with London. Until proven otherwise, I'm sticking with my London pick over New York Excelsior. That's gonna be a good game, really good game. I hope.
Yeah, definitely agree with you. We have in game number 2 though. Okay, well I have to go with what I said though. I think Excelsior will be losing to London here as well. So Spitfire again winning 2 this week in 2 close games. Although that said, Jax, I do want to give the argument that preparing against 2 hard games is a little bit more difficult.
No, it was the same
But
thing you talked about in London's final week where they had to play Houston, and was it Houston and New York that they had to play that final week of stage 1? And so let me see, final week 5 stage 1. Yeah, they played Houston, and then they had to play New York, and then they also had to prepare for the playoffs. So and here, Lepos, we talked about, what did we talk about with London? They cannot prepare like they did because they no longer have the players that they did.
That is true. So that does give me a little hope for NYXL here. Actually, when we think about it like that, now
Are you switching? Are you, Lepos? We're running out of time. Are you switching? Last chance.
Yes, I'm going to switch to NYXL based on that reasoning.
Okay,
so,
New York for Lepolos. All right. Sadly, I have to take the Dallas Fuel over my Gladiators for the second pick. Those filthy Fuel fans out there will be happy. Gladiators, until they do something and they address this DPS issue, or until the DPS becomes consistent and shows me something else, I don't feel comfortable picking them against most of the teams in the league. I just don't.
I agree with you here. It's really hard.
Fissure, fantastic pickup, but they need to go import some more talent from somewhere.
Yeah, Gladiators are going to struggle with fuel, and that's just going to be the honest truth of it. But that takes us into Game 3, and Jax, this one pretty easy too. It's Seoul over San Francisco Shock. No big surprise there. It takes us into...
Do we see IDDQD at last level?
No, we do not. We know he's not coming in.
Still no IDD.
No Numlock, no IDDQD.
When do we see it? I mean, once 150K comes in, it's even less time for IDD.
IDDQD, next time we see him...
What's he there for?
Next time we see him will be on a release statement, so let's...
Savage from Lepolos, but we're going into the fourth day of Stage 2, Week 1. I'm taking Philadelphia over the Florida Mayhem.
I can't go against that one. Let's go ahead and get right into Game 2 on Saturday.
Houston.
We got Houston versus Boston Uprising. I'm going to pick Uprising on this one, Jax. I think this is going to be a good game. It can go either way.
Yes, very much so.
I think Uprising will... Because, okay, we talked about this previously. Outlaws, 2 big games on the week. A bit more time here to prepare compared to the Spitfire.
It's still rough, man. Like, no, rough. I mean, you're not wrong there. I mean, Boston and Philly
also a good game, but I feel like the coaching right now on the Uprising, like that's where they feel their staff. I think they have a larger coaching staff than the Outlaws do, and I think that will come through.
Coach Tayrong down there at Houston, man. Tayrong putting in work. They have GM
on the Twitter maybe, but
doing something. I don't know what.
He's
talking
doing
something down there.
Yeah, on this one, I think the talking will all be on Uprising side. So we're gonna disagree on the winner of this one, which takes us into
Valiant over Shanghai.
Yeah, and there's no surprise there, guys. So Valiant for myself as well. That's the end of our predictions for Stage 1 or Stage 2, Week 1.
Do we get we don't get the playoffs of PIT, do we? The playoffs of PIT, the final.
We're partly done the playoffs, I think, in PIT. So we're not even done the series, the full PIT by next Sunday.
Next Sunday is the 26th. Wow, yeah. Because, see, looking at it, the upper bracket final, which Envision has already qualified for, is not until February 26th. And then the grand finals aren't until a day later. So we're not even going to be able to get this full coverage, Lepolos, because we have to cover Overwatch League.
Yeah, it's going to be...
The schedule is...
It's unfortunate. Like, if they were more prepared, they would have done it during the off week. They probably would have gotten more viewership, honestly, if they did. But
I have a few streams that I've watched of players who are playing in this said this is not the most coordinated tournament they've been in. So there are issues there.
Listen, I can understand.
Poorly run, is basically what I'm saying, Lepolos.
It's hard to run those things. There's no doubt. So, but you never want to hear that like leaking out of the players. It's unfortunate that it's that bad. But it is what it is. Like when you're talking about tier 2 scene with no money in it, like what can you expect out of the administrators? They're putting in free time just as much as anybody, probably. So. Probably, I don't know.
Just looking at the Reddit detectives are announcing Waka Waka has retired from Overwatch.
Okay, well, I mean, I hope he has fun in PUBG pro career, as per everyone else that seems to be moving on. And Jax, if we're speaking of moving on, we did not make your time limit. We never do. I apologize for
so far
that.
Off the time limit right now.
Why don't we go ahead and wrap this up and move into the post game?
Because I looked at the schedule, we had nothing here, and then Nupplos, you're supposed to manage the clock. Toasty Lock in chat, he had 2 clocks or 3 clocks.
Not enough clocks, though.
He's fired. He is absolutely fired. But I guess you're playing the outro music right now.
I am not playing the outro music.
Actually,
yet.
No, we haven't even done it.
Exactly.
At Lepolos on Twitter, at Jax JAX_Blake,
this guy.
at OW Rundown on Twitter, Twitch.tv/Lepolos Sunday nights, 9 Pacific, more like 9:05, 9:10 Pacific. Stop by there. Google YouTube Lepolos because he uploads it there as well.
And
am I forgetting anything else?
No, we're doing the music.
We're out. Okay, my throat is tired.